He's no good to me dead.
You're being put into carbon freeze.
What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me.
Always such a shame to undo this very cool packing job, but styrofoam all around, as you can see, and a lot of air cushions, of course. And you will find some particularly heavy air cushions. Those contain the claws, so be careful. Then we have the electronics in a separate bag. Then we have some profiles here. And then you can just lift out the assembled unit. And below that you will find a background print. Now this is not an error, this goes behind the raised floor, and this is where the electronics come out. Okay? And then we have the floor units. So this is the both the acrylic and the floor. On top of that, and then this part that goes underneath the hole, so you have something that that looks good. All right, beautiful. Now, the inside is white, so it reflects a lot of light, but all the visible portions, including the one, the inside of the hole, that's painted black, because you don't want anything detracting from the look where everything is pretty visible. Now, it's important to take note of these 4 bolts. Those are joined at the frame, and if you just display it separately as a standalone piece, that's good. But if you want to display it inside a Detolf, then you'll have to take off these little nuts, so we can just flip this up and you can slide it inside the frame, but we'll get to that later. Okay, so this piece has 2 functions. Like I said, it makes the inside of the hole look black, and because of the frame that goes underneath the raised floor, we also needed something that raises the front. So if you align it like that, then that's perfect. This is just something you need to know. If you place it in the Detolf, this needs to go first. Let's start with the electronics. So, for those of you familiar with our work, this is the standard electronics kit, and it comes with our the one we have custom made. This is a world power supply, which means it switches from 100 volts to 240 volts, which means it will work worldwide. It also switches between the 50 and 60 hertz networks out there, and it outputs a DC voltage of 12 volts with 2000 milliamps, so that should be plenty. For those who want to get their own version, this is a center positive 2.1 watts plug, and you can slide off the standard plug that comes attached. This is the US plug, which is 75 to 80% of what we ship. So this is the standard plug. Just push this in and slide whatever you need. So UK plug, this is I think the Asia plug, and then the European plug. So that's the one I need. All right. Then you'll have the screw adapter. This is where you screw in the LED strip, and inside this bag you will find the LED strip. And what you can do here is the red wire is the positive wire, and the red with black trim, that is the negative wire. So all you need is a screwdriver, either Phillips or a flathead. Unscrew this and place the wires in here. Now, for some people, sometimes there's not a very good solid connection. All you need to do there is just strip back a little bit more of the insulation. You can do it with your nails, but just a knife will also work. But as you can see, I did it with my nails, and just then fold back and maybe twist the wire so you have plenty of stuff that makes contact. But this is important. Make sure there's enough connection in there. And in this case, you will have plenty of length. So now comes the tricky part, and that is making the choice of how would you like to light up your floor. The only important thing is that you get this wire out through the back, make that as long as possible to make it easy on yourself. And then you have several choices. If you want maximum brightness, then you can go around here and then cross over to the circle right here and just stick it to the sides. If you want even more brightness, you can also use the extra length to lay it down on the floor. The downside to that is that even though we will be putting on these two parts, so the beautiful floor, which goes this way, by the way, because of the openings, and the orange bit that you need to strip back. Now, if you want to have maximum brightness and you don't want to see too much of the direct LEDs, you might want to consider leaving one of the one with the one that is marked top. Leave that down, and you won't have too much of the direct LEDs bleeding through. Otherwise, stick to the sides, and if you want to cross over, then go down the center, because the LED strip will be covered by this solid bit right there. So let's start applying. And here is something you always need to be careful about. Get the adhesive backing off without also taking off the transparent adhesive film. So through the hole again, as far as I can. And then just start sticking it to the sides. As high as possible. The chance that the light will be bleeding through will be minimal at that angle. Okay, so I suggest that you attach the electronics and the green plug first, so you can plug in, and while you apply your LEDs, you will be able to see the effect and make the choice that works best for you. Otherwise you'll be working blind. So again, looking at the top of the green screw plug, you will see a plus sign and a minus sign. The red wire goes into the plus sign, push it in as far as it will go, and then screw it down. Make sure it's firm. It won't find, there won't be too much stress on that, so just give it a gentle tug, see if it stays. That's enough. Do the same for the wire with the black trim. Alright, so we've screwed in the red wire in the positive terminal, the black wire in the negative terminal. Then we just plug in the power supply and you can see the LEDs lighting up. Let's turn it back. And let's put on the plate. You'll see what I'm talking about. So that looks pretty good already. And with the white film, it gives a more even distribution and it's harder to see the individual points of light. So again, let's just apply as much of the LED strip as we can, because hey, why not? So now we've reached the halfway point. We'll go across. At this point, I find it easiest to just rip off that so we don't have to deal with that. This stuff is very easy to fold. Just use the thin bits. Let me show you. So with the adhesive backing removed, looking closely at the LED strip, you will see these little V-shaped thin parts, and they are where you can easily bend. So if you bend down or you want to make an angle, this is where you bend, carefully bend the LED strip. Don't put too much pressure, don't fold it down into a hard line because there's electronics in there, but you get the idea. So again, even now on the outside of the circle, just stick to the top like that and go around. Okay, so now I went all around the main circle, and it is a pretty good place to cut the LED strips. Now it's important, if you cut it, you will find the same line every 3 LED lights with the copper tabs and the scissors. This is where you want to cut it. Anywhere on the every 3 lights, and everything will work fine. If you cut the wires anywhere else, you'll have problems with the rest of the strip, so don't. For those who want the maximum brightness and don't mind seeing a bit of LED lights, then I suggest following this pattern. First, make a big circle. Make sure you stay away from the bolts because you'll need to get to them eventually. So the circle I suggest you go for is one that touches the outside perimeter. So since everything here is very well isolated, for the second ring I suggest we go about halfway, and you can just cross over your 2 strips here in the center. So you want to get to the halfway point, do the same thing again with that circle. The beauty of this is, if you change your mind later, you can just very easily cut the excess material off and have it the way I initially suggested. So try out for yourself, see what look and brightness works best for you in your typical lighting situation. When we do get to the end, I suggest you cut off the final bit right there. You don't want these wires shorting out like that, and then even have a little bit of excess going on the lower part of the circle. We're all doing this assuming you're either okay with seeing a bunch of LEDs or keeping the white film on. So let's test this out. This is more than I've ever used, so I'm kind of curious to see what happens here. Wow. Very bright. Very nice and bright. Cool. So let's stay and stick with this for now. The white foil easily hides the individual LED bulbs, so wow. So for the print, all you have to do is get the wire through there. As you can see, the wire even goes through when you have the plug attached, screwed in, so that's no problem. Okay, so we've threaded the wire through the back print. Now, if you are going to display it outside of a Detolf, which is fine, it stands on its own, which is part of the design, then you can skip this step. But if you are going to be using a Detolf, you want to take these little nuts off, and you might need like some pliers to get started. Then you can take these off, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so one more tip to take these nuts off more easily. Really press down on the white 4X before you spin the nuts around and take them off. Now, I can't show you the next step in my own Detolfs because guess what? They're filled to the brim, and breaking down a diorama to show this seemed a bit stupid. So just get this, lift up on the 4X like so. And if you have a Detolf, you'll be able to slide it in like this, in between the gray frame, and then just start spinning until you have it almost in place, and then you can flip up the poster, the background print. Make sure this wire goes where you want it to go, of course. And then slide this back, press it down over the nuts again, like so. Like this. And then you can just put these on. Alright, so I've screwed down 3 of the 4. Do the last one together. The only thing you have to make sure is to press down on the 4X so everything is sitting nice and tight, and then really hand tight should be enough with these 4 bolts. That stuff isn't going anywhere. So let's get these poster profiles fitted. The only thing you'll have to be careful about is not ruining the matte black paint. So if you get some scissors and just twist them like this, and as you can see, once you start at the top, make sure the top stays put, and then you can just push down the rest of the profile. Do make sure you start at the top. As you can see, these are made to fit exactly. So again, scissors, flip them close to the top. Slide it all the way to the top, like so. Really nice. So then you can just slide this on. So you'll find the part marked top. You can easily take that off with some cleaning fluid or a little bit of like a very fine sandpaper. Since this thing isn't entirely symmetrical, it only has a perfect fit one way. You'll have this corner profile that goes on top to really keep everything in place. Though I must say for this one, it really looks quite perfect. And you'll have the trusty 3M glue strips. Just use 2 on the inside of this profile. You will find 4 in your box, and those can have several uses. For me, let's see. I like to use 1 strip around the back to make sure that the poster sits well here, but you don't need the entire length for that. It's easiest to lay it flat. Of course, it would have been easier if I had thought and remembered to do this before I secured the poster, but hey, this should work fine. Now, another piece you can use the 3M for is this piece, the floor piece. Like that. Like that. Make sure you check that the poster is centered before you press it down on the back. Flip it over. Always pull parallel to the tape to get the best results. Find the center. Find your center, young grasshopper. And then push it down. Stick the poster down too. And look at that. That is perfect. Absolutely beautiful. Sitting just the way I want it. So I got this piece. And then I'm going to cut up more. and put them really at the edges so you don't see it peeking through here. Now, because this 3M stuff is really just glue with 2 strips of backing tape, it's important to press down hard and always pull off the strips that have been settled the longest. And like I said before, pull parallel to the tape to curl it back. Then the glue won't come off with the last bit of the adhesive backing. Now, this may be superfluous, but we like to be thorough, as you can probably tell. Like so. Again, make sure you get the position correct. That looks perfect. Oh, absolutely perfect. And it really lights up the stairs as well, doesn't it? I really like that. So, you have the option to leave it as is for the for one display option. Just put Han Solo in here. Look at that gorgeous claw. Never thought I would see this in 1/6 scale, no less. So, for the claw, what you need to do is you have a bolt in your kit. It comes with the electronics. Just that slides in there, and you get your a 9/64 Allen wrench should work. And then place it near the hole, and the hole in the aluminum is threaded, so just screw that down. Voila, it is that simple. And you have tight, hand tight is enough. And look at that, the gorgeous claw. Isn't this epic? I mean, look at that. Yep, it works for me.